You gotta hand it to Americans. They still treat the Constitution like it's some ancient magic spell that keeps evil away. As if parchment and calligraphy are gonna leap out of a museum case, choke a senator, and restore the Republic. It's paper with words, folks, not a Marvel superhero. And impeachment? Don't make me laugh. That's not justice. That is political burlesque. A bunch of overpaid clowns pretending to punch each other for the cameras so the peasants feel like accountability still exists. It's WWE for college-educated idiots. Lots of yelling, no actual hits, and behind the curtain, everyone cashes the same checks. You don't get a revolution from hearings and subpoenas. You get a fucking matinee show for a dying empire. Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. The collapse that you and I are living through isn't random. It's not a whoops situation. It's not bad luck. It's not a coincidence. It's a strategy. And that strategy has a cast list. We know their names, we know their institutions, and we know what they're building. It's not about left versus right. It's about the managerial class, the people who control the money, the technology, the information, and the narratives. They don't run for office. They don't debate on TV. They don't argue with peasants online. They pull levers, issue memos, fund think tanks, make treaties, write reports, and change policies that nobody voted on. Start with the money. The central banks run the financial world. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, and the Bank for International Settlements. And that last one is the Vatican of banking. The BIS tells the central banks what rules to follow, what tools to use, and how to manage global liquidity. Nobody elected Jerome Powell. Nobody elected Christine Lagarde. Nobody elected the BIS general manager. Yet, these people decide interest rates, monetary policy, money supply, inflation targets, and the fate of currencies. They can crash an economy or stimulate it with a meeting and a press release. Congress doesn't control the dollar. The Fed does. And the Fed is a private cartel. The peasants think they have capitalism. What they really have is monetary feudalism. Then, look at the corporations that control actual assets. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Between the three of them, they have over 25 trillion in assets under their management. They are major shareholders in almost every major brand you touch. Food, energy, medicine, tech, media, defense, and transportation. BlackRock owns Pfizer stock. BlackRock owns Lockheed Martin stock. BlackRock owns Google, Microsoft, Meta, JP Morgan, Chevron, Amazon, and half of the S&P 500. When you own the companies that control the news, the war machine, the medicine, the social media, and the supply chains, that is not a free market. That's a monopoly empire disguised as capitalism. On the government side, you've got the intelligence agencies that never lose power no matter who wins elections. CIA, NSA, FBI, DHS, Five Eyes Alliance. Unelected surveillance bureaucracies with permanent budgets and zero accountability. They don't answer to presidents. Presidents answer to them. The intelligence state decides what information reaches the public, what gets censored, what gets classified, and what gets buried. They helped overthrow governments in Iran, 1953, Guatemala, 1954, Chile, 1973, Ukraine twice, 2004 and 14, and that's just the highlight reel. If they'll topple foreign governments, why would anyone believe they wouldn't shape domestic politics? Then add the international institutions that write global policy without a single vote from a single citizen. The United Nations, the World Bank, the IMF, the World Trade Organization, the World Health Organization, and the World Economic Forum. These groups decide pandemic policy, economic policy, digital ID policy, climate restrictions, trade rules, and migration rules. They write the scripts nations follow. During COVID, heads of state didn't draft their own policies. They copied WHO guidelines. They copied WEF papers about vaccine passports. They copied CDC protocols. It was a global copy-paste operation. That's not democracy. That's managerial synchronization. And behind them, you've got the NGOs and the philanthropic foundations that operate like shadow governments. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, Open Society, Clinton Foundation, Ford Foundation. They fund media, science, education, elections, think tanks, NGOs, and health programs. When you fund the information pipeline, you don't need censorship. The narrative censors itself, and if a story doesn't serve the program, it simply doesn't get grants. The playbook is always the same. Create a crisis, sell a solution, expand control. After 9/11, we got the Patriot Act, mass surveillance, NSA, spying, DHS, TSA, endless wars, and trillions in defense spending. After 2008, we got bank bailouts, QE, inflation, asset bubbles, and corporate consolidation. After COVID, we got lockdowns, digital passports, mRNA contracts, censorship, labor restructuring, and a new international health treaty in the works. Every crisis takes more freedom from the bottom and delivers power to the top. Every crisis expands the managerial class, and every crisis ends with the peasants paying the bill. Meanwhile, everything is failing at the same time. You've got $38 trillion in U.S. national debt and $700 trillion in global derivatives exposure. You've got birth rates collapsing in the U.S., Europe, Japan, China, and South Korea, all below replacement levels. You've got 60% of American adults on at least one prescription drug and 20% on 5 or more. You've got record mental illness, record unaliving, record addiction, record loneliness. You've got failing infrastructure, failing schools, failing families, and failing communities. You've got 40% of the United States having less than $400 in savings, and the average home costing 8 to 10 times the average income. You've got food controlled by 10 corporations, media controlled by 5, and social platforms controlled by 2. And while all of that is burning, the ruling class is moving towards central bank digital currencies, digital IDs, ESG scoring, climate quotas, smart cities, 15-minute districts, and AI-mediated behavior control. The peasants get propaganda about safety and equity and efficiency and sustainability. The ruling class gets permanent control over movement, money, speech, and identity. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is a public policy rollout with published white papers. And the funny part, the tragic part, the Carlin part, is that the peasants still think voting is going to fix it. They're arguing over Republicans and Democrats while BlackRock, the Fed, the IMF, and the intelligence state rearrange the world. And the peasants scream about impeachments, as if taking one puppet off the stage changes the play. The peasants have opinions. The ruling class has architecture. And when you look at the big picture, you realize the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. The only things breaking are the illusions.